Welcome to Weather and Climate Chat. I am your host, Monsoon Mike. Joined with me once again this week by Zoom as we continue our virtual new reality is my co-host, Dr. Michael Davis. Dr. Davis, hello.
Hello.
And Quinn Flory, our fine KUR intern. Quinn, how are you doing up there in Sunbury?
I'm good.
Good to have you here. It's been an interesting past week since Easter. I sent you both some pictures. What was it, on Friday, I believe it was, when we had some grapple and snow showers moving through the area. I think you actually even had a covering of snow up there a little bit, Quinn. Is that true?
Yeah, there was a good amount of snow covering on that Friday, and I think the Thursday too, but mostly on Friday it snowed all day.
Wow.
Yeah.
We had a little flurry activity in the Lehigh Valley, but that was it.
Yeah, we had that one grapple shower come through here, I'd say about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I went outside in it like a true weather geek that I am, and it was pounding my face and stinging in my face, so I knew that wasn't snow, but I also knew it really wasn't sleet either because the temperature was well above freezing, so I assumed it was grapple, and National Weather Service confirmed that. I saw them posting on their webpage, on their Facebook page, about numerous sightings of grapple. Here's a good question for you, Dr. Davis, for our listeners out there. Grapple's not the most common household term that you can hear. Explain what grapple is and how it differentiates from snow and or sleet.
So when you have snow, that's just a frozen form of liquid water. Ice crystals form in the colder temperatures, and it falls down. You get those nice oily-like flakes, hopefully. Of course, it can change depending on temperature and moisture in the atmosphere. Sleet, on the other hand, is when you have rainfall, or at least liquid precip, that then enters a deep cold layer and it freezes. So it's kind of like ice shards or ice pellets, as they're sometimes called too. And that's what you get with sleet. With grapple, you have that ice crystal, and it starts to fall in the atmosphere, and it encounters a layer of supercooled water, which is water that's below freezing, but stays in its liquid state because of it being very small in surface area. And it essentially latches onto the ice crystal itself, and then builds up layer upon layer of ice, which is known as rime ice, R-I-M-E. And as it's falling, it's getting sculpted by wind resistance, so it gets in these spherical forms, and they fall in little balls, essentially. You kind of get mistaken for hail every now and then. Sometimes it's called tapioca snow because it looks like tapioca pearls, like pudding or something like that.
Yeah, and that's exactly the way it was here. So I found that interesting, and kind of driving home the point that this is a slightly cooler than average period that we're up to around April 20th and still dealing with some of that, although not totally unusual. You can definitely see this kind of weather with that that time of year. Something else that's also been going on around the country has been some pretty severe weather, and I saw a statistic, Dr. Davis, and I think I sent it to both of you, as Dr. Davis and Quinn. Maybe I sent it to just one of you, as I can't remember who now at this point, but that we're on pace for one of the most deadly tornado seasons in the past decade, since at this point already, April 20th, we've already had a higher amount of tornado deaths than in the past 8 years. So it's been a pretty active tornado year.
They're going to be hard-pressed to try to beat the 2011 year, which I think had nearly 500 deaths.
Right, and that's probably why they say 8 years, because that would be the year that we'd be going up against.
You had large ones like the Joplin tornado in 2011.
Right, but so far it has been a pretty rough year, and in fact, I sent you both a picture yesterday. Let me see if I can screen share it again. Of course, that doesn't really do our listeners much good, but just for our purposes of discussion, a picture of hail blanketing Alexander City, Alabama. Yesterday. It's so much hail down there, it looked like snow. So some pretty severe weather been hitting parts of the country like Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas. That part of the country has really been getting nailed pretty good.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot more in the way of intruding air masses from the north, which have been affecting the severe weather potential. where was this all winter, I would say, because if it was happening in January, December, we'd be getting snowstorms.
We'd be getting nailed with snow. Absolutely. Yeah. So
I think that calmer period that we had in the winter time is breaking down and becoming more chaotic for the spring and early parts of the summer, perhaps. Mainly, well, that's to be expected as the jet stream's beginning to change from its winter position to its summer position.
Right. And you brought up a good point. Dr. Davis said the exact same thing. One of my other weather contacts said to me, he's like, boy, this came a little too late for snow fans. If we had had this kind of pattern 3 months ago, we'd be digging out.
It'd be a whole different story about the winter.
Yeah. So a little disappointing if you're a snow fan, but still makes for some interesting weather. Okay, so now we have we're recording this on Monday, April 20th. And now we have today's not too bad of a day, partially sunny outside, so it's a pretty nice day.
Strong low moving off the coast, though.
Yep, I just called up the model there, if you guys can see that, low off the coast. We have a cold front that's going to be trying to come in tomorrow. Looks like about lunchtime. Around lunchtime, we should see some showers around this particular area. Nothing too heavy, but there could be some showers. Maybe a heavier line of rain for a short time early in the afternoon. And with that, maybe some gusty winds as well. Some tight isobars there. So that looks like we could have some gusts, maybe 20, 30 miles per hour when that front's coming through. And then beyond that, we dry out. And Wednesday right now looks dry with some weak high pressure trying to move in. But it looks like Dr. Davis and Quinn, we stay in a generally active pattern. Thursday, we have another low pressure coming out from Kentucky. That could give us a good soaking into early Friday. Maybe dry on Friday and early Saturday. And then another soaking potential with another low pressure coming from the south Saturday into early Sunday. And just like the National Weather Service Climate Prediction Center said, looks like generally cooler than average with some snow showers, perhaps as far south as Virginia on Sunday. So generally a cool, unsettled pattern continues for the foreseeable future, guys.
That would be expected with all the rainfall too.
Yeah.
So if you have the rainfall and the evaporative cooling process, you're going to have cooler temperatures. Not to mention the trough in the jet stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, the colder air from the north.
Yeah, and I keep getting a lot of questions on my weather page. Monsoon, Mike, when are we going to see some, consistently warm weather? Well, right now, not really seeing that, at least through early May. But maybe after that. I don't know. Are there any summer forecasts out yet, Dr. Davis? I think I saw a few floating around out there.
I haven't seen any myself.
All right, let me go to
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, so I'm going to go to the National Weather Service Climate Prediction Center again and share the screen with you, and we can look to see what their 3-month outlook is and when the last time that was updated. So sharing screen again. Here we go. And it looks like 1 month outlook.
Slightly above.
Slightly above. And then 3-month outlook. Let's see, this was made so this is made fairly recently, April 16th it was made.
May, June, July.
Okay, so maybe a slow start to the warmer weather, but fear not, warm weather fans. It looks like we will eventually get some more normal summer weather coming up in the
most of the US is warm.
Most of the US is warm, and precipitation wise, equal chances over the next month, a little bit above over the next 3 months. So a fairly warm, maybe slightly damp summer coming up. So we'll see where that goes.
May looks kind of tumultuous in terms of its swinging. Mm-hmm. And June and July look like we get more solidified in our traditional warm summer.
And if I remember correctly, and Quinn, maybe you could jump in here, wasn't that kind of how last year went? Didn't we kind of have like an early or like a late start to spring where it was kind of cooler than average, and then once we got into summer, July, it was pretty toasty?
Yeah, I
That
think
sounds familiar to
so.
me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So that's looks like that's what we have to look for. I mean, is that our official summer forecast? I don't know if we want to like go that far ahead to say that.
Yeah.
However, however, it does definitely look like that it's going to be active over the next at least month or so, and then we get into perhaps a more typical summer-like weather. And I think we're looking at a what was the forecast I heard, Dr. Davis, for summer for hurricanes? I think we're looking at a slightly above average,
Yep.
above average hurricanes as well too, which that might not necessarily be, well, it's never good news, obviously, but it might even be slightly more concerning news with everything else that's going on. So hopefully that if that is the case, we can at least get this whole pandemic thing down.
That's what climate change threatens to do. They'll see this disease and they'll raise you a hurricane, a drought, a flood, another disease, whatever you want. So
Yeah.
not like this is a crisis or anything. Sarcasm meter going crazy right now.
I can pick up the sarcasm right now. Absolutely. Yeah, and we've discussed that before. I mean, we see a lot of panic over what's going on now, and rightfully so. Don't get me wrong. I mean, this is a huge, very serious event that we have going on. But it would also be great if we could take that kind of concern with climate change as well too. And speaking of which, I wanted to bring up a couple of articles here that I found were kind of interesting. Here we go. Well, I have two articles here that I want to share, and this can be our topic of the day. This first one here, let me share my screen once again. All right. I found this interesting. The Pope he's like one of the first major leaders that I'm really seeing really link coronavirus to climate change, which is interesting because you and I, Dr. Davis, have talked about this before, that whether or not somebody is religious or not, the Pope is an interesting fellow because he has science background. And Pope Francis has said the coronavirus pandemic could be one of nature's responses to humans ignoring the current ecological crisis. In an email published recently in the Tablet and Commonwealth magazines, the Pontiff said the outbreak offered an opportunity to slow down the rate of production and consumption and to learn to understand and contemplate the natural world. We did not respond to partial catastrophes. Who now speaks of fires in Australia or remembers that 18 months ago a boat could cross the North Pole because the glacier has all melted? Who speaks now of floods? He really nailed those things right there, Dr. Davis. Pretty much just what you had said. I mean, we're so caught up in this other stuff that we're not even bringing it back to climate change at all, when in fact the two very well might be pretty heavily linked. You want to talk a little bit about that, Dr. Davis?
Yeah, I'm not going to speak much to the connection between the coronavirus and climate change because I'm not entirely sure as how strong that connection is.
Right.
But I will say that given this whole global crisis of the COVID-19, it's very similar to the crisis that we face with climate change. Mm-hmm. And if we are showing this urgency with addressing one international crisis and not showing that same amount of urgency for another crisis, then it seems kind of odd that we are having this kind of weird response to one crisis but not the other. And then having a religious figure such as the Pope saying that climate change is definitely offering some insight, or at least this idea of how we humans are interacting with our natural world, is quite powerful, especially from a man of his standing.
Right. Quinn, you want to jump in on that at all?
Yeah, I've been looking, I've been on social media a lot, and there's a lot of people who have been like protesting like in the US about like going out and about the stay-at-home orders and about like wearing masks and stuff in public.
Right.
And I think it's kind of amusing how some of those people are the same people who have more different beliefs than we do.
The climate deniers, yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting, that's an interesting link.
Kind of like a big hypocrite. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
And some of the criticism that the Pope takes is that he needs to be sticking with religion and not science. It's like, well, he's a scientist by training. He should know something about science.
Right, exactly. And okay, so let's dovetail off of that with another interesting article that I sent you guys over the past couple of days. And let me bring this up. And if either of you has followed Truth Out, it's like one of those activist. Wait a minute, I lost it here. One of those activist type sites, and there was an opinion piece on there that got a lot of hits with the next economic stimulus must include Green Deal measures. And it talks about how with the whole COVID-19 pandemic and certain populations being vulnerable to the compounding crisis, that and as our Congress is negotiating the stimulus deals and trying to help people with recovering from what's going on here, that the Green New Deal should somehow be tied into that conversation as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Dr. Davis?
Yeah, with the whole relief package that was sent out by legislators and the administration, there's a lot of sentiment that you could have put a lot more provisions in there regarding if you're trying to bail out, say, the airline companies, that they need to get more efficient with their jet fuel, use less jet fuel, less carbon. Mm-hmm. There's a large amount of carbon that goes into the atmosphere through those particular types of industries. Other industries like fossil fuel industry, for instance, supposedly there's going to be a potential benefit for them because of the drop in oil prices, as we're seeing.
Right.
And why not help them invest in renewable energies and move us in that direction, or at least offer some type of outlet that they can capitalize on this opportunity to advance their sustainability efforts rather than keep the status quo. Right. And the one that's been passed pretty much did not have those opportunities presented. So
not really, no.
What we saw was yet another squandered opportunity by Congress to enact some type of movement or vision or carrot essentially for those businesses to move in that direction. And Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said that now is not the time to talk about climate change when we're dealing with urgency of an outbreak like we are currently facing. But I would then counter that by saying, when is the appropriate time to talk about climate change? Because whenever we bring it up, you say now is not the time to talk about it. And you have that similar argument being brought by the right saying that, oh, now we're dealing with a disaster. We shouldn't be talking about the validity of climate change right now. But you have to. Governor Christie after Sandy said the same exact thing. Usually after any sort of event of this caliber, it's not in the interest of certain politicians to talk about climate change because they feel as though it's somehow debatable when it clearly isn't. And it's the 5-ton gorilla in the room that no one wants to talk about. Yeah. And eventually it's going to come and do some damage to the U.S. economy and the future. And the Green New Deal, for instance, is the only legislation that we have in Congress right now that addresses the actual crisis, that level of crisis that we're facing.
That's a really excellently described analysis, Dr. Davis. I thought that was really good. I think
if you're not trying to push the Green New Deal, then when are you going to push it?
And how many times have we heard that excuse? I mean, so many times in politics, we keep hearing, well, now's not the time to talk about it. Now's not the time to talk about it. Well, we'll talk about it.
I'm not a scientist. I can't make that.
When is the time to talk about it? Absolutely. So, yeah. So we keep brushing this under the rug, and it's not getting better anytime soon with our climate.
Unless we take action, and we won't be able to really motivate financial entities if they don't have that idea that they can somehow save money or benefit from switching to renewables. Right. I feel like that message gets muddied in the waters by misinformation campaigns coming from politics and also from the public.
Yeah. Excellent point. Excellent. Quinn, did you want to jump in on any of that?
Yeah, I agree with what he said. I feel like we can't just stop talking about the Green New Deal just because something like is happening. We need to keep talking about it. We need to keep trying to make more progress on it. And especially now, we've seen the effects of what happens when society stops like functioning. Like, and like we talked about it, I think 2 podcasts ago, how about, dolphins were showing up in Italy, like in the waterways, and how, wild animals are roaming the streets in Thailand, and how the smog has cleared up in China. And like, we've seen what happens when society stops. So obviously there's some clear evidence. So we need to just stop denying it when it's right in front of our faces right now. So. Excellent
point. Excellent point.
What are your thoughts, Mike?
Yeah, I'm always the moderator, and I pretty much let you guys talk. Well, that's what a good moderator does, right? No, I agree 100%. I mean, and I could even link what we had said about the Pope a second ago. Some people might. I heard there were some people that got a little bit, irritated at what he had said and said, they're drawing links that don't exist. Okay, well, maybe that link, like you had said, is kind of questionable at this point. However, I think he brought up a very good point that, we tend to live in a society where we easily forget about things. Well, what was his quote? He says, when was the last time we heard anything about the fires in Australia? I mean, that just a few months ago, that was huge. And now we don't even hear anybody, oh, that's old news.
Flooding in Venice.
We forgot about that. Old news, done, and that's so typical with everything with dealing with this climate emergency that we have, is that it occasionally it'll rise to the top of the list of the news cycle, and then quickly it's brushed under the rug when something better comes along. When in fact, I think all of those news stories are somehow indirectly or even directly linked to our common structure of life. So I thought that was a good point that he made, and I think we have to continue to push our legislators. I mean, I see lots of things going around, text your legislator and let them know to pass the new stimulus bill, or to give us all another $1,000 or whatever. And that's all important. Believe me, that's all important. But I think we also got to be texting our legislators and reminding them that, that we have another emergency on our hand as well too.
I agree.
Yep. Yeah. So any final thoughts, you two? I know, Dr. Davis, you're a little pressed for time. So I want to congratulate Quinn up there with her new puppy. Obviously the listeners can't see, but we did post a picture on our social media. So if you want to see intern Quinn with her new family member, you want to just introduce your puppy?
Yeah. Yep. I got Freddie on April 7th. He's been with me now for almost 2 whole weeks, I think now.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he's 11 weeks old. He's a black lab, and he's super sweet. He has a really big personality. He's really sassy, has a loud bark, but overall he's just great, and I'm really happy that I found him. And I've been looking for one for a while, and I was going to get one after I graduated in May, but now under the circumstances, and I'm home, and I don't currently not working because of everything happening, so it's just everything worked out perfectly. So he's here right now, sleeping in my arms, because he likes to be held when he sleeps, and I like to hold him because he's small and he's really soft.
So congratulations. And just on cue, Dr. Davis, I guess he was jealous of us talking about another animal. I saw your weather cat hitting you in the face with his tail walking by a second ago.
Oh, yeah. Rosby's always moving around, so whenever I'm lecturing, students are like, Rosby. Everyone who took meteorology with me knows who Rosby is, because he's the mascot of Geography 204.
Right.
Yeah, I know Rosby.
Cool. All right. Well, Dr. Davis, Quinn Flory, I want to thank you so much for joining me. We hadn't done one of these in a few weeks because we've all been busy, but let's try to do it again within a week or so. And, and hopefully by then we'll have a slightly warmer weather and we can enjoy some spring weather with your puppy. And Dr. Davis, you guys are doing good with classes. I know it's kind of tricky with this whole online world that we now live in, but everything going pretty smooth for you?
So far, yeah.
So far?
Biggest concern is when the new one gets here. Because we're 3 weeks from last Friday.
I wasn't going to say anything because I didn't know if you wanted me to, but yeah, you have a new addition coming to your family in a few weeks. So I'm sure there's some stress with that as well too, with everything that's going on. But
yeah, the due date's during finals week,
so not only do you
not like any additional stress there.
so not only is there a pandemic, but there's a finals week and a baby all coming at the same time. So you've got a lot of pots on the burner, Dr. Davis.
That's right.
Well, good luck with all of that, and we'll see you weather and school and baby and pet and everything else permitting in about a week or so. How's that sound?
That's right.
All right, we'll see you then.